Hello everyone, I'm Ace. I'm recovering from my flu. This is gonna be my last build video of the season. My next video is gonna be the changes that Season 3 brings to Druid and what I think is gonna be blah blah blah. That kind of stuff. But my last build video is gonna cover Shred. Because, as you might have heard, I am rank 1 in the world. Everyone said Druid was gonna suck this season, but I did not give up. I went through about 400 changes to my build in iterations, and 5% improvement every time. Eventually I can clear a tier 25 in 3 minutes, and the best barbarian has to stay on the 6 minutes mark. And the build can go further, but there will be no further updates for the build. And when I say the build can go further, let me explain. Because everyone in the top 10 is either me or people that played with me, and my solo time is 3 minutes while barbarians stand in a 6 minute, I do not actually have to make my build do more damage. My build is extremely tanky, far more tanky than barbarians are. I get up to 31k HP with my Gideon potion up and when I shapeshift into my animal form. This build is a heavy focus on being tanky, and that's because people don't like to die on explosions on Abattoir of Zir. I don't. You don't level up your glyph that way, and it sucks to die. So my build is very tanky, can go and be pushed toward damage, but unless barbarians or another class show that they have something for me, the build will stay tanky, and still my tank build will speed farm their push. Let's go over the build, my items. Let's make it a little bit more fun because I've covered Shred before. So let's go over a little bit of the gear I've gathered for the rank 1 push, etc. Everyone wants to see the amulet. That's the amulet. I've shown it before, but pretty much, being that Shred is the best build in the game right now, this is the most important item, I think, in the game. Most valuable, for sure. Perfect ranks to Venom, perfect armor in Werewolf, and perfect move speed with a perfect item level 860 plus for maximum resistance. Best item I've ever had. Was really cheap because no one wanted to play Druid, and armor on 2 slots wasn't meta. I have 2 of them, in fact. The other one is pretty much identical. And now you really can't find them anymore because everyone was playing barbarians. But if I can show you my other amulet. There it is. It has pretty much very similar amulet. Instead of having move speed, though, it has DR. But because I'm so tanky, the move speed is the superior choice, as this build extremely fast and moving through dungeons. And the move speed also gives you more uptime, better value out of your Ravenous vampiric power. Then, of course, for the build you will want Andariel Visage, a chest with armor and DRs. I also have a spare chest that instead of having Might Aspect or Vigorous, you can use either of them, honestly. It has Exploiter, which is my boss-only snapshots. I will show my snapshots later. Sneak peek, its elements and accelerating, and I will show how you do snapshots later on, though. But yeah, very hard to armor cap this build. You need the double armor roll on your amulets, your chest, and then you need to use rare pants for armor cap. I don't armor cap the build. It's close to armor cap with T-bolts, but that's also because I use spices when I push tier 25. Of course, you use spices, so I put those on, and then I don't need my rare pants. But rare pants, for most people, I would say, are good to go because, of course, not everyone is going to have perfect rolls, DRs, and having one more DR piece is useful. We have a lot of uniques. We have Arida, we have Flicker Step combo. The combination of Petrify, Arida, and Flicker Step is probably going to remain. People thought that this ring was bad, but I've Goblin-Inc proven that it's gonna be here to stay. Very OP combination, will probably be part to almost every build I make in the future, I would say. Which maybe is not great for build diversity, but it's that OP. A lot of uniques. T-bolts, we talked about it. My gauntlets with elements on it, attack speed, crit chance, lucky hit procs on the aerials, which is how we apply poison. The build does not play poison creeper anymore. I find it to be more defensive this way. Poison creeper is risky, you have to stand in human form, it's clunky, and simply not needed. This is a very safe build. Again, the build can be pushed further for damage, but I was looking for something to level up my TOB to 200, and this did the trick. I was having problem before, but then when I was able to finalize this build, which was not too far away, was pretty recent actually, allowed me to level up my glyph without too many issues. I did some solo, I did some rotations with barbarians, and even some Sorks. There was one Sork that was able to clear solo tier 24. If you do not know what a rotation is everyone clears one dungeon for the other guys. So I cleared 24, the Sork cleared the 24. There's really cool people I met. Ifax Belzmet, Cody, Fanatic, Kratos. They helped me out and I helped them. And they are the guys that you see top of the leaderboard that play with me. Very cool people. Very thankful to meeting them. It was really fun playing with them. And I will play with them in the future seasons. My weapon is not the greatest, but accelerating aspect is what I have on it. It's not maxed out because I'm snapshotting it anyway, so it doesn't matter. I would say that willpower is probably not necessary. Damage to slow the enemies will be best in slot. The all stats is nice because it activates my rare nodes on the Paragon board. Same for the gloves. All stats would be better than willpower, but you can still activate your nodes with spices and incense, so that's fine. This totem is the only item that I didn't pay for. I asked the guy for the item on Diablo trade, and the guy didn't want to sell it to me. He just wanted to gift it to me no matter what I said. So unfortunately, I got this item for free, which I don't like to get things for free, but the guy wanted to give it for free. So that's what it is. But thank you very much if you've seen this video. It has helped me out. 925, not max rolls or anything for the DRs, but still solid item. My ring with Starlight on it. Starlight has been a great change to all Druid builds. It's gonna be something that you will see in the future. It has changed a lot for Druid, being able to play without Lust for Carnage. It might seem something simple, but allows the build to be far more tanky and do far more damage. So this has been incredibly helpful to push Druid to the next level. Double damage roll, vulnerable and close. They are double dippers. Damage to slow is also double dipping and will be better, but didn't have it. Lucky hit, crit chance. No need for HP because I have so much HP already. 31k HP. Do not care about your 1.3k HP on rings anymore. Talked about the amulet, which of course has Blur Beast. I moved my build away from playing with two-handed weapon because I find the extra attack speed from playing one hand, the DR, making the build feel better to play. You die less because you have more DR. Also, being faster with your attacks means dying less. You have more uptime of metamorphosis, more pulls, and overall the build is a lot more fun to play. And again, being able to not die, play smooth, enjoying is all that matters because no one else can challenge Druid. And I do not have to play more clanky versions of the build because no one can compete with it anyway. And the safe farm tank version of the build, it's still gonna outpush any other class. So that's why there will be no specific push build, super squishy version of my build because I don't need to. It's really optimized. It's a very good balance of tank and offense. It's the most min-max possible offense defense you can have. My boons, we can talk about. I removed the Masochist because it doesn't do anything when all the healing is really on Daryl's Visage. Might as well have a little bit more damage. None of those boons are useful for the build. For Wolf, instead, you have a lot of choices here. All 4 choices could be good if you play with the Companion. Energize, more Spirit, nice. Bolter, more Fortify, nice. And also, extend duration of Ultimate can be nice. Personally, I don't like being out of resources, so Energize this. I have crit chance, max life. Max life can be removed for either crit damage or for swooping attacks. If you wanna go for faster times on your clears, never had to do that. Still in the 3-minute range with my max life. And damage reduction were in S. The piece of the resistance, talked a little bit about before, is my Paragon board. This has been what has pushed the build to the limit. So I removed recently my Territorial for Tracker because the build is far too tanky, and I noticed how you never die when the Seekers are close to you, you always die when the Seekers are far away from you. So damage reduction to close, not that important. You still want to have 2 rolls of it, in my opinion. Well, 1 on your chest. You still want to have that 20% there, plus the boots, and I think that's enough. Next. I've had to remove these points in Impel because I didn't have enough points to get the important things in the build. I think that the 10% extra damage here is far more important than 3 points here. So you need 3 points for 25. It's not worth it. 2 points for 20% is slightly better value. And you also don't have the extra point to get there anyway. You would have to take off HP, which I'm not gonna do. But technically you could remove HP from the build and add more damage and get better clears. But again, no one challenges you, so... The real big change to the build has been adding Keeper to the build, to my Thunderstruck board, and getting rid of Lust for Carnage. This gives us 24% more damage reduction from vulnerable enemies, which makes the build really tanky on Seekers. And the bonus from Keeper double dips, so the 10%, and then you 10% again more damage. Very powerful. And we don't learn Lust for Carnage, which is a useless board, which allows our build to be far more tanky and do far more damage. Of course, Heightened Malice. Here, a bit weird, we talked about it last time, but I decided to run Fang and Claw in a notoriously dexterity board, which is Constricting Tendrils. That's because HP is multiplicative on Paragon board, meaning that every HP node you take is better than the previous one. So anything you can do to get more HP percentage is amazing, and this will be something that I will keep doing in the future. I will have a focus on defense on Paragon and then get more offense on gear and on talents, because this is far more valuable. When you reach a certain point of HP, those HP nodes are so much value that trying to get tankiness through gear and other stuff is just not comparable. We activate every single node in the board, even the 6th board here, Inner Beast. It's willpower, so we activate to get more HP from it. And those rare nodes here would be active if you have all stats gear, like in the builder. I do not have that. And will also be active if you use your incense when pushing. That's how I activate it personally, because I don't have the all stats on my gloves to activate it otherwise. And yeah, this gets active, very strong. You get full bonus damage, full bonus magic resistance, ancestral guidance, all the HP nodes. I've seen Koreans and Chinese players play Druid now. They use the exact same Paragon board point by point, and let me tell you, I do not mind. When I see people using my Paragon board overseas, And they're like, yes, that's the Paragon board. There's nothing I can do to make it better. It makes me happy. I don't feel like they've stolen my Paragon board. I take it as a great compliment, and I hope they enjoy the build. And if some players ended up beating my times with Druid, very happy for them. As long as Druid is the top, I am happy. That was my goal. I didn't want to abandon the class when it was a piece of trash at the start of Abattoir Vizier. And I was able to find the build to make the class work. I'm very happy about that. Now, talents. One of the big changes I made to the build was to use Ursian Strength, but not only for the damage multiplier as we have done since a long time, but also the 20% maximum life. To do that, I've started to play with Maul. And people ask, but isn't Claw better because it has higher lucky hit chance? That is true, but Maul does a couple of things. First of all, it fortifies you. Second thing, activates Iron Fur for 9% more damage reduction. Third thing, gives you 20% more HP. And on top of that, whenever you shapeshift, you fortify. If you use Claw, you don't shapeshift because you're always Wolf. But if you instead use Maul, you shapeshift between Bear and Wolf and you fortify. So that's why I've been using that. It's a combination of those three factors. The HP, the Iron Fur, and the natural fortitude. We keep having the Supreme Petrify of the build. I talked a little bit before, but Petrify plus Arida's Will and Flicker Step is gonna be very tough to remove from any Druid build in the future. 1 point only in Toxic Claws. It's not there to poison, it's there to DR the enemies. So even if it applies very little poison, that's fine. It's only to apply poison fast to Seeker so you don't die. Of course, in Venom, 1 point in slow. Max point for Cyclone Armor. The damage reduction from elements is very important. And people want to know what happened to Shredwork. The build was called Shredwork because I played Bulwark, but gone. So we are now running Blood Howl because I like the attack speed. And it has a low cooldown, lower than Earth and Bulwark. I figure that now that I play with Maul, I have enough fortified generation that I do not need to play Earth and Bulwark for the 45. So I enjoy the attack speed from Blood Owl, and I enjoy the lower cooldown, which allows me to keep up my vigilance even better. 2 extra points in Debilitating Roar because I don't have anywhere to use them. And of course we go full points Iron Fur, move speed, great chance. 1 point in Shred because it does not increase damage of Blur Beast. Wild Impulses though, core skill damage does increase Blur Beast damage for some reason. There's a disconnection here, I understand that, but that's how it works. And we put 3 points in Maul because the range feels like I have to walk less distance to Maul and saves me some time, meaning I do more damage with my Shred. That's it for the build. Let's go and talk about how to play and snapshot and stuff like that. Let's go over the snapshots and a little bit about gameplay. So, we already did the snapshot wrong. Now you cannot snapshot anymore. So I'll show you how to fix it. You do not actually have to enter with your snapshot aspects on for them to be active. You can activate them inside if you want. I will show you now how. If you do not know what snapshotting is, it means that I will be able to have a two-handed aspect active without a two-handed weapon. I will be able to have this aspect active just by having this one aspect on. So now I have a 30% extra damage to elements on. And even if I change my weapon and go to two-handed weapon and get my 60% elements on, I still have only 30% extra damage to poison, shadow, whatever. And even if I take these off and only have on the two-handed one, it still will remain 30% because it has snapshotted to the weaker one. The rule for snapshotting is that whichever aspect is on first does remain. So I take this off, now we have none, so we lost the element. And now that I lost the element aspect, I can put on a 60% one and it gives me 60%. At this point, when I add the old 30% one in, it will remain 60%. So as you can see, you can snapshot from inside the dungeon. You don't have to enter with it. It just simply, whatever aspect is on first remains first. That's the rule. Now, the two snapshots I do is one elements, the other one is accelerating. So I want to have accelerating on first, then I put on my accelerating on my weapon, and it will remain snapshotted to the amulet on. Last but not least, snapshot you can do is only for bosses, and is by using Exploiter. I can always take off my amulet because it's blurred beast and that does not snapshot anything. So if I want to do another snapshot, I can just use my amulet slot. I do this, 60% Exploiter on, put my chest with Exploiter, and it will stay a snapshot to that. At least I think so. Does it work? No idea. This one I actually didn't test. And the reason why I didn't test is because I don't care. Because it's kind of stupid, you know, snapshotting. I mean, the element one, I know it works because those I can see. But, you know, I use the snapshot for Exploiter. I use Exploiter for my boss fight. But I'm not gonna go and dive deeper into the build and bugs because other classes are so far behind me. It really doesn't matter. And I don't have to go and chase bugs. I would if I needed that to be, you know, beat barbarians, I would, but they're so far behind. For playing the build, you want to be using all your defensive skills when you have them. They all do useful things for you. Now let me go down to one mob. I'm trying to be surgical here. So we have down to one mob, and if you want to do damage on single target, let's go on. Well, let's pretend that only one mob is alive. But so my mole is something I try to use every couple of seconds, every 3-4 seconds, to keep up my might aspect, but also to keep up my damage reduction from bear form, and to keep on my extra HP when I turn into a werebear. Now, you don't have to cast it unless you feel like you are in danger and you need the extra HP. For single target, as you can see, a lot of people think you need to play with a macro in this build, but no, you wouldn't be able to do this with a macro. This type of like getting distance and shredding back and forth, it's not possible with a macro. A macro, you know, if you have some problems, use it. I'm not gonna tell you to not use a macro if you have wrist problems. Spamming so many keys and shred so many times at such a high attack speed might be a problem for some people of a certain age. But I think I wasn't clear enough in my previous video when I said like you maybe should look into using a macro. That's for every build in every RPG. Like if you have issues, which a lot of gamers have, don't fucking destroy your wrists for playing a video game. That's my take. Some things, you know, is it against US? They don't ban you for that. They don't ban you for that. They are not pro macros, but Blizzard doesn't seem to care because they can't go on and say, yeah, use automation because it opens the door for other things. But no one has ever been banned for it. And if the choice is between that and getting surgery, just do whatever you want. Or if you're healthy, some people don't get any type of injury. Don't use a macro, it will make you worse. You cannot do certain movements and you will not have as much damage. That's why you hear me click so much when I play, because that's still the best way to play the game, is to have the most control. Macro is not going to allow you to have control on your character. And your single target damage will heavily suffer if you cannot do this. And you know, you cannot do that with a macro. But other than that, that's pretty much all my secrets. The real secret of the build is to understand how the mechanics of the build work and reading your aspects, tooltips, and understanding things like you have to be able to use this. Be sure to use your metamorphosis every 4 seconds. Be sure to have at least 3 enemies poisoned so you activate your heightened malice. And I understand that the more poison you apply on the target, the more damage you can do. When you've applied a sufficient poison, focus on those movements with your shred back and forth to do as many shreds as you can while the poison is at the maximum levels of stacks on the target. The better you get at the build, the more damage the build will do, because the more poison you apply, and then the more times you can shred with that max poison, the more damage you've done. Meaning that the better you get, the build gets exponentially stronger, as the more poison allows you to do more damage with each shred, but because you're faster, you also doing more damage. So more speed equals more poison equals more damage, and the two things combine. And that's how you get to those crazy clears after you've practiced the build. It's a build that is annoying to play, but might get nerfed. It's been a great run. And this is the end of it for me. For the season, I am proud that Druid is the best endgame build. I've made a build that, you know, also the people, so the regions use. It's been a great ride, and looking forward to next season and what other builds we'll be able to make for Druid. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is all my secrets. I'll see you in the next video.